Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Tua Tagovailoa is headed to the IR. Is there a path for his understudy to actually succeed? Also, is it panic time at Soldier Field? And time of possession will be the most important stat this season in the NFL.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Miami Dolphins announced that Tua Tagovailoa was being placed on IR on Tuesday. With that news, Miami must now pivot their offense in a year they were expected to contend. Locked On Dolphins host Kyle Krabs looks at how the offense will survive.
The Dolphins facing the outlook and the prospect of not having their starting quarterback for an indefinite amount of time. And that means Skylar Thompson is projected to be the team's starting quarterback against Seattle. Skylar is a little more athletic than Tua Tagovailoa. I do think he has a little bit more pop in his arm. I don't think he has anywhere the near level of precision and accuracy. I don't think we have a big enough body of work to believe that his footwork and timing as a result of that is on par with that of Tua. And I don't think his processing and field vision is on par with Tua Tagovailoa's either. So you're looking at, just based off of the nets and losses of the skills of the players, you're perhaps looking at a little bit bigger menu of access to the field as far as throws outside the numbers to the field. Can you get some more action going that way? Can you take advantage of the speed that you have on the perimeter and run guys off and run deep comebacks and run deep outs and be able to get that ball out there and have confidence that it's going to get there? That's not a very high volume part of any NFL offense, but it's an exceptionally small part of what the Dolphins do, in part because it's just not a natural strength of Tua Tagovailoa from an arm talent perspective. I also consider the tight window throws for Skylar. You saw some of this against Buffalo when he tried to layer throws between the second and third level of the defense. There was a void there. The Dolphins came out and attacked it a couple of times, missed a couple of throws to Julian Hill, missed a throw to Grant Dubose. That was a horrible decision, if we're being honest, from Skylar. And then missed a throw to Jonnu Smith in tight coverage, where we weren't quite able to pull the string on the ball and get it to go up over the second level and get down before you met the third level defenders. As a result, I think from Skylar Thompson's perspective, you're going to look to get involved with go balls. I think you're going to look to get involved with fades, double post, post and deep over, those longer developing concepts. And of course, there's a whole debate about the Dolphins and their ability to protect to get those plays off. But I think that's the ticket for Skylar, to give him the throwing concepts that give you the best chance, I think, to create some explosive plays in the passing game. How do you get there from a personnel standpoint? I go back to 12 and 21 and 22 personnel. When you look at the players that are executing well, it's running backs, it's tight ends, it's Devon A. Chan, it's Jonnu Smith, it's Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, it's Julian Hill, far outperforming the likes of Durham Smythe, who is about a net neutral player across 67 snaps this season. And all of those players are far outperforming players who are below expectation, and that's the likes of Grant Dubose, Braxton Berrios, and Robbie Chosen. But you might get Malik Washington back. I don't think that's going to be a player that's going to be a savior for you by any means, unfortunately. So you take Miami's success running the ball. You take Miami's success with heavier personnel players to execute their assignments and responsibilities. You understand the desire to stretch the field. This is no longer a finely tuned sports car. It should not be. I think it would be irresponsible to take an analogy that might anger some fans, but It's the best one that I could think of that goes within the confines of the already established analogy that we have. You don't want to take a NASCAR driver and put him behind an F1 car and put him out there on the track.
Stay up to date on the Miami Dolphins all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Dolphins on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, is it time for the Bears and Caleb Williams to panic? Before we answer that, the Chiefs are bringing back an old friend. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have a little something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. For that $5 bet, you can take a look at some early week 3 lines. The LA Chargers are off to their first 2-0 start in 12 years, and they're running into a 2-0 Pittsburgh Steelers team. FanDuel likes the Steelers at home by 1.5. The Chargers are run first. The Steelers are defense first. Someone's got to figure it out. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. With Isaiah Pacheco on the shelf, the Kansas City Chiefs signed Kareem Hunt to the practice squad on Tuesday. Pacheco broke his fibula on Sunday's dramatic win over the Bengals. The 29-year-old Hunt played the past 5 seasons for the Browns in his hometown of Cleveland. The most productive of those seasons came in 2020 when he rushed for 841 yards and caught 38 passes. Remember, he started his career with the Kansas City Chiefs before a domestic violence issue cost him his time in KC. Fans of Tennessee athletics are going to have to pony up a few more bucks for tickets. The university emailed its football season ticket holders and said it will be increasing ticket prices by 10%, calling it get this, a talent fee. The plan will start in 2025. In a video that was included in the email, athletic director Danny White told fans the talent fee and other strategies were part of an extensive plan to continue the team's dominance in college athletics and build something like never seen before. This appears to be the first such instance of a university raising prices for name, image, and likeness purposes. Speaking of NIL, the state of Georgia is stepping in. Schools in Georgia have legal cover to immediately begin paying their athletes directly. This, according to an executive order signed by the state's governor Tuesday morning. The order prohibits the NCAA or athletic conferences from punishing any university or college in Georgia for, quote, offering compensation or compensating an intercollegiate student athlete for use of such student athletes' NIL. NCAA rules currently prohibit schools from directly paying athletes for rights to use their name, image, and likeness. And over on the diamond, the Miami Marlins beat the LA Dodgers.
Well, we looked at this game and we said Dodgers coming off a tough series in Atlanta against the Braves that they split. The last 2 games of the series looked very good for them. They felt very good about all of that. Coming out of there, scoring a lot of runs. And here tonight in Miami, feeling like, all right, this shouldn't be too hard. They're the worst team in the National League. We should take care of business. And Bobby Miller came out and did what Bobby Miller has been doing lately, and that is not pitching well, throwing fastballs over the middle of the plate, which allow Major League Baseball hitters to feast. And that's what they did. In just 2 innings, Bobby Miller gave up 4 runs on 7 hits and then got the yank. Michael Grove came in and wasn't much better. An inning and 2/3, gave up 3 runs on 3 hits. And the Dodgers, fortunately, to their credit, kept battling, kept scratching away, trying to get back in the game. And they did, tied the game. I don't think they ever had the lead. Did they, Jim? No, I don't think they did. The Marlins were the gritty one. The Dodgers kept coming, though. I think it's unfortunate that they scored 9 runs and come away empty here, but I'm not terribly surprised coming into this one because Bobby Miller was starting, and I didn't have a good feeling and a lot of faith that the Dodgers would be able to win this game.
Bryce Young got benched in Carolina. Too soon to talk about that with Caleb Williams, but he was the number 1 overall pick. I just made Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears have a heart attack. No, we're not talking about benching Caleb Williams. Everyone relax. But it has not been the auspicious start that many thought it would be when the conversation was this is the best situation a number 1 pick has walked into in a very long time. So Lauren, did we just get this wrong? Is the situation not quite as good? Was Caleb not quite as ready? Like, what is the biggest factor to what I think is fair to say and diplomatic to say is a slow start for this offense through 2 games?
Yeah, definitely a slow start, definitely underwhelming across the board for the Bears offense. And I think it's a combination of, we probably overestimated the supporting cast's strength there, particularly the Bears offensive line. We knew it might not be great, but we didn't think it would be as terrible as it's been so far. And there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered around that group. And then I think also the general Caleb Williams hype, I think, had us kind of believing he was going to come in and be mid-season form veteran NFL quarterback. And that was probably never realistic to start. Now, probably expected more than what we've seen, but not necessarily couldn't have thought he would be, a 5-year pro in week 1 against the Titans.
Yeah. And that's on us, right? Like, we in the media set the agenda, we set the understanding and the expectations here. But how much of this is Caleb Williams versus how much of this is everything around him? Because you and I have had this conversation, Lauren, so many times on and offline about it being everyone else's fault when it came to Justin Fields. This was supposed to be the time they built around the quarterback and gave him an incubation period where it's like, this is the perfect opportunity. And yet it hasn't happened. So let's play a little blame pie here. Like, allocate this for me.
Yeah, I think definitely some of it is Caleb Williams' fault. It's never going to be 100% zero there. I tend to think. And
by the way, that's okay. He's a rookie quarterback. Like, everyone chill out.
And I think that's the point, right? Like, the concerns with Caleb Williams and the blame here feels about like the normal, like, rookie concerns, not like big systematic structural, like, oh no, did we draft the wrong guy kind of concerns. Just more like, he tried to throw a ball into a couple windows that he just couldn't hit the same way that he could in college. And there've been a couple times when he tried to escape 3 sacks on a play and the 4th one got him. And you can't just do that the same way in the NFL. But I think a larger portion of this blame goes on the offensive line. And then I think the offensive coordinator and play caller, Shane Waldron, as well, like, not being able to better account for when the offensive line struggles, giving Caleb Williams more options, getting more creative offensively to say, okay, this isn't working. What else can we do? And they haven't quite found that what else just yet.
And I think this was the question that people had coming into, certainly I had coming into the offseason, of if you're going to reset this with a new quarterback, if you're going to move on from Justin Fields, then doesn't it make sense when you have a defensive head coach, even understanding that the defense got better over the second half of last year, to reset this with an offensive-minded head coach? Because if this doesn't work this year, you have a new coach coming in, a new offensive coordinator, let's just say. And then what if they underwhelm next year? Now you're getting rid of everybody and you have a number 1 pick that's going to have 3 offensive coaches in 3 years. And that's how quarterbacks get ruined. So do you go back and do you look at anything in the spring from a process standpoint and go, in retrospect, maybe I'm more dubious of how this was handled than I might have been at the time?
Yeah, I mean, it was always a red flag when you brought back a head coach, but neither of his coordinators. That's usually kind of
doesn't usually work like that.
Walking kind of feeling there, but the way that the Bears endorsed Matt Eberflus really made it seem like he's getting more than just a year, right? Like, it's not like he has to make the playoffs with Caleb Williams or else he's going to get fired. Like, that's not exactly the stakes here. But I do think you have to show progress and play better than what they've done in the first 2 games of the season so far, or else you might end up getting fired. But it was such a ringing endorsement of, we believe in this head coach and we're going to get this coordinator search right this time. Trust us, it's going to be different this time. And I think there were a lot of Bears fans who said, why should we trust you this time? We haven't been able to trust you before, but what choice do you have? You like some of the moves Ryan Poles has made. So fingers crossed, you hope that the quarterback can be the difference, even if the coaching staff isn't elite.
Stay up to date all year on the Chicago Bears by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Bears on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the most important stat in the NFL will be time of possession. We'll tell you why next. We are starting to see the running game return to prominence in the NFL. Because of that, Locked On NFL host Tony Wiggins is ready to make a prediction on the biggest stat for the NFL season.
And when you go 3 and out, now you die a slow, painful death.
Yeah.
Now you're in the desert and you ain't got no food and you ain't got no water and it's 178 degrees outside and everything you see looks like a lake. And the thing is that's what happens. And I'd rather just get beat with big plays, man, than to just get 3rd and 2. They get 3 yards, first down. They come and get 5. They throw a little wide banana to the tight end. He gets 4. It's 3rd and 1. They get 2, first down. And the defense is standing there sucking air and they're gassed. I'm going to tell you the biggest stat this year, because of the way we're thinking. We're going to make a prediction here on the barbershop, here on Locked On NFL. I think teams that, and this ain't no breaking news, by the way. This ain't no groundbreaking information, but I really do think teams that have time of possession are going to have a serious advantage this year. And because those teams that can't get off the field are going to get fatigued and get tired, is going to then put more pressure on those offenses. And those coaches are going to, they don't even want to score fast. We got to stay out here for a little while because they're sucking air over there. And then that's going to be the dilemma. And I think you're going to see a lot of teams lose the way they lost back in the 90s when they played the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if people remember this. The Cowboys would be up 16-10, right, at the end of the 3rd quarter.
Yep.
And they scored 2 touchdowns and win 30-10, but you just felt like they just whipped you all game.
I'm not ready to go as far as declaring time of possession back in the NFL, but the run game is back. In fact, right now, the NFL is experiencing a low point in recent history in passing touchdowns. It is a running back league yet again. Okay, it isn't quite, but the proliferation of these too high safety coverages, the let's put an umbrella on the offenses, has caused teams to go, I guess we're going to have to go 12 plays, 15 plays, 75 yards, which means longer drives, which is why our pal Tony is talking about time of possession. To me, the key, though, is there will be teams, there have been teams, there are teams who are still finding ways to score quickly. Explosive plays or short drives is still the best way statistically to score points. The teams that can find ways to still create explosive plays, even in this let's put a lid on offenses era, those are the teams that are going to have the most success. And finally, Major League Baseball has been around for a very long time, but they've never seen a player like Bobby Witt Jr. The Royals superstar became the first shortstop ever to record multiple 30-30 seasons. That refers to the number of home runs and steals in a season. Witt entered Tuesday with a .322 batting average, which also leads all of Major League Baseball. If it weren't for Aaron Judge, Witt would be the AL MVP runaway. Of course, Judge has waited a few years now for Shohei Ohtani to lead the league, so you'll forgive him if he does not care if he's in Witt's way. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, who will bounce back in the NFL this weekend? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on Sports Today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.